Hello, everybody, and welcome to STOked, the ultimate Star Trek Online podcast. My name is Chris.
My name is Jeremy.
Hey there, J-Man.
Hi there, Chris.
It's number 92, big guy. What do you think?
We keep inching our way closer and closer.
To 100.
One of these days, we're going to have to figure out what we're doing for that episode.
I know. That's actually, I think, why it's on my mind, because we don't have any idea yet. But, send us in some suggestions.
Yeah.
Now, okay, here's what we've got coming up in this week's episode. First, we've got a little bit of general Star Trek news we're going to dig into, because we figure it's probably a pretty good chance you guys like Star Trek.
Right.
And then some more information about the Borg Invasion.
Actually, just a couple quick teases about
Don't
some
spoil
stuff
it.
that...
Don't spoil it.
Oh, I'm just saying of stuff that actually happened over the last
Don't
week.
spoil it. No.
Believe it or not, stuff has been happening.
Yeah,
so.
actually, and some cool things that you're gonna be able to look forward to after we tell you about it.
Right.
A little bit of Foundry information, a little bit of KDF stuff, and then some things that you're gonna want to hear about that the man himself said. And then at the end of the episode, we've got your feedback for some ideas for Starfleet Academy, as well as some news about Starfleet Academy. All right, Jamin, let's jump into the Star Trek stuff.
Well, I think this will excite anybody watching this show because you guys are Star Trek fans, right? Well, if you are on Facebook, I won't hold it against you. Head over there. We have a link in our show notes real quick where all you have to do is click the like button and you'll be entered into a sweepstakes.
You have to hit the like button and then you have to give me your information.
Oh, see, I didn't do it yet.
Yeah, I did it.
Of course you
it's
did.
It's the entire Star Trek DVD bundle ever.
Right, and all the latest remastered editions of each.
Of TOS.
Yeah.
So I did it.
All the movies, right?
You know what it is they claim it goes to CBS. It's not a Facebook thing. It's just like a Facebook app. And what they do is they claim they're going to send you Star Trek promotional information. If it's only Star Trek promotional information, I could get worse spam.
Right.
I'll take that. So, but of course now
You're
that
probably already on all of their lists anyway.
well, now that we just told these people, my odds just got dropped through the floor. That sucked. Let's talk about something else, though, DVD related. This, I think, is probably some of the most exciting news out there for the Next Generation fans. Like myself, that's what I grew up on.
Yeah.
The Next Generation, now this is coming from two separate good-known sources at Comic-Con, is going to be remastered in 2012 to Blu-ray, high definition.
It's probably a good idea to mention, though, that these were not official announcements. These were kind of like interview offhanded comments.
But Trek Movie did a great write-up on this, and they actually show a lineage going back to 2007 where CBS was starting to talk about remastered. And I guess the Next Generation was, from what you read in these, if you read this lineage of articles, was shot on 38mm film. It's actually a 16:9 ratio camera they used. They used movie studio cameras to shoot the Next Generation, and then they transferred it to video to do the special effects. But if they go back to those original plates, they actually have a 16:9 shot, which also would be shot at 4K resolution, which is actually 2 times higher than HD.
Yeah.
So it would easily be a great picture.
Yeah.
It could, in theory, be the point where you'd be able to see the cracks and the makeup.
But you're saying that if they use those original plates, then they might not have finished special effects.
I would
they
think
transferred
not.
it to video in order to finish those.
You see, if they go back to the plates, they're going to have to redo all of the effects like they had to do for the original series.
That's probably why it's taken them so long.
Maybe.
Although, I mean, not really a bad thing. Some of those early episodes, the special effects were... Do you remember that, gate crap in the counter at Farpoint?
Well, dude, you can't do worse than they did in the original series. And
that's for damn sure.
But you're going to see if they stay so true like they did in the original series to the special effects.
Sometimes I hope they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get a chance to go back and redo all this, redo it.
Yeah.
Give it some oomph.
Yeah, make that look great.
Right.
So that's exciting. Plus, then you'd also have, in theory, could have it in surround sound and all that kind of stuff.
And the widescreen. I didn't think about that at first.
I don't know for sure. I mean, maybe.
Sometimes for this show, I have to go back through your TNG archives and get footage to show off something that we talk about, and it's always, 3x4.
Yeah, 4x3, and it looks, you have the black bars on the side. It's no good.
No good.
I'd love to have 16:9, but even if they can't, I'll still take remastered beautifulness.
Yes.
All right, should we talk about Stowe?
Let's go ahead and talk about Stowe.
A little Borg Invasion news, eh, J-Man?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to point out that Stowe Wiki has been keeping a very close eye on this, and they have a complete page on everything that's been announced and everything that's been leaked and everything that people have seen or heard about the upcoming Borg Invasion. It's awesome. Check the link in our show notes.
I have love for them. They're doing a great job.
Yeah. Now, what we did get this last week, though, is that the announcement contact, the person that's going to point you to the new Borg Invasion events, accidentally got leaked. Accidentally made it to holodeck, not even just Tribble, but actual live server. Okay. And so some people were able to hail the contact and get the new mission for the DSCs.
Really?
Yeah. Now, they quickly took down the servers, fixed this with a maintenance patch.
Should we spoil what the dialogue said?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, spoiler camera. Do you mind spoiler cammering it?
Okay, sure. Right.
There we go.
Well, first of all, I'm going to show a picture of it right now with the spoiler cam.
Yeah, okay.
But you can see here at the bottom of it, it says that these DSCs are worth 5 times the skill point gain of a normal DSC.
Say what?
5 times.
And you figure, I'm thinking at least for my new alt, I combine that with the C-Store boost. I could be in the XP monies.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if it stacks all the way up to 10 times.
To the bank, J-Man, to the bank.
Yep.
So this
actually,
is going to be
the contact dialogue says it encourages you to use a skill boost.
Love it. Although, I don't know if you always want to encourage people to get the end game content, but that's probably a separate conversation.
No, let's sidebar just for a second here, because we have said this before, that there's not a whole lot to do at the end of the game, and probably the best way to play STO from the beginning, if you're starting from the beginning, is to stop and smell the roses. Yeah. Take your time. Enjoy what you're doing.
But then again, is this maybe speaking to the fact that is this not proof in the pudding that there must be this section in the middle that we just are not really cognizant of because we kind of sit at the end game content so much?
Maybe.
Because you're seeing, in the news, we've got
especially for Klingons.
In the news, we've got information about new lower tier ships. Now, you've got these things that do seem to be specifically designed to address the lower tier range.
Right.
Is this maybe a good indication that we just have a bubble that we live in?
Maybe. It is possible. I mean, I know that we look at the game from a very specific perspective, being long-time players and being long-time high-level characters.
And there's probably also the factor of new players coming on who just want to level up as fast as possible to play with their buddies, and that's why they're playing.
Yeah.
So, interesting. And I am just really actually quite looking forward to the Borg Invasion. It's going to be fun.
No, apparently these DSCs are just a small part of the overall invasion. There's going to be many other things. I've also been hearing, and I couldn't find an absolute confirmation on this, but that these DSCs are recommended for 5-man teams. That they're going to be harder than your average
bad arse.
DSC.
I'm looking forward to that. Make the Borg a challenge.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the combat itself is going to be amped up a bit.
Okay, so that's good stuff. Let's talk a little bit on and off, maybe not so good stuff. Foundry updates, J-Man. Now, this could all be in flux. Probably by Tuesday, it could be completely resolved. We're shooting this on Saturday.
Or still an issue that is awaiting resolution. We don't really know.
See,
okay, on Friday afternoon, we got this big announcement and fanfare from Stormshade saying, yay, the Foundry's back. Go play with it and beat it up, because what we did was roll everything back to pre-Season 4 as far as your data is concerned, but you still have all the new functionality. So, hooray, let's bring this Foundry back and make stuff
really
happen.
Like that?
Yeah, it
kind of was.
It was a big announcement.
Oh,
It was like big.
I mean, he didn't call me, so usually we chat. No, I'm kidding. I was like, hey, Storm, what's up?
But, it wasn't more than about 35 minutes later that another announcement came out that they had taken the Foundry offline again, and that it would remain offline until Monday.
Ouch.
So the entire weekend, now I can't really blame them for this. They shouldn't have rolled it out on a Friday, though, but, they probably don't work much on the weekend.
Well, the idea is to give people something to do over the weekend and collect the data.
Yeah, well, apparently enough data came in during that half hour that they have enough to look at.
They can't leave it running if it's broken.
No. Now, the problem seems to be that they intended to roll all the data back to a pre-Season 4 point, but apparently that didn't happen or something, because people were still saying that when it came back, they were still missing branching dialogues and stuff like that, which was the main problem with the Season 4 rollout.
Yeah. Also, it has been a content drought in terms of new playable missions, and the resulting thing is we should, in theory, be leaning on the Foundry to supply that content, but the Foundry's been offline since really Season 4 launched.
Well, I think that it's playable, but so many of the missions are broken that I don't think many players are playing it.
No, I think it is playable, yeah. But
the editing capabilities are offline again.
If there's something you want to fix about it, you're screwed.
Yeah.
We should make that clear. These are for people that have been looking to go in and get that fixed. The other problem is we've been looking to do content for the show here, and that's the third aspect of it that we can't do on the show. So everybody wants the Foundry fixed as fast as possible, but the reality is if it's not ready, it can't be left on over the weekend because you don't want to worry about messing up production for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and I completely understand from a development and company side of things why you would not want to have something like this out there. It's a continued disappointment, and I think just made matters worse by the big announcement that it sounded like the Foundry was ready, that they fixed everything and it was time to go play and finally,
that was either
finally get our fix on.
That was either like a miscommunication or it just didn't work out the way they wanted.
Yeah, and again, by the time this episode comes out, it might all be fixed.
Yeah.
Let's keep our fingers crossed for that.
Yeah. Let's talk about something that is kind of cool, though. I got my hands on that, and this is the Tribble Test Reward. Do you remember, towards the beginning of July, there was just to get everybody on Tribble as much as possible, let's test Crossfire, and if you spend about 2 hours playing, we'll give you a special reward.
It was if you logged in for, I think it wasn't even, I think it might have been only 1 hour.
No, I think it was 2.
They said 2.
Oh.
But sometimes people have reported it takes less.
Oh.
But anyway, if you logged on to Tribble between July 1st and 5th, you would have been flagged for this reward, and the reward came out. It's a Crossfire Tribble.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of neat, though.
It's very neat. It gives you 2 separate buffs that, depending on which mode of ground combat you're in, applies a different buff to your actual stats.
And also, which kind of maybe seems to be showing a new sort of functionality of the gameplay mechanics that we didn't know about.
I didn't know that they could do this sort of thing. Just switch a buff on the fly, depending on the...
So you get
depending on a client option too, because the server doesn't have to know what kind of shooter mode you're in.
Right. So you get a defense buff. RPG mode is a defense buff, and in shooter mode you get a damage buff.
Yeah.
You go to the C store and look in the special unlock section there, and you'll be able to claim it.
Yeah, that's where you go and claim yours.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Now this is something that might be neat. It's totally like semi-official, and it's a work in progress, kinda. It sounds like the KDF are going to get their equivalent of the Enterprise F. The Klingons have a flagship coming to them.
Yep. This whole movement is being headed up by Captain Logan, who many of you know of as like the head ship artist over there. Yeah. I don't know if he's the head, but he's one of the most well-known.
He's one of the well-known. We had him, boy, if you go way, way back when we had our birthday show, was it, or something like that? There's a clip of him there. Yeah, it's kind of neat. But yeah, he's great. He's made some of the great work you're seeing. And I guess must have a soft spot for the Klingons.
Well, I think the thing is that he loves the community around shipbuilding. And when the Enterprise started rolling out, there was a decent-sized minority out there saying, well, don't the Klingons deserve something similar?
Yeah.
And Captain Logan basically latched on and said, hell yes, they do.
Yeah.
And so he's been heading up this, and I think just recently he kind of got the okay from his bosses to go ahead with this.
From on high.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
So the Klingons will be getting a new flagship, and there's information in our show notes if you want more information about how you can help with the process.
It sounds like it might be a semi-side project.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that he personally had to pitch, that it's something he wants to do.
I love you, Captain Logan. Big internet hug. I can't wait to see it. Now, kind of correspondingly to that, there was a tweet leak that people kind of thought, because of the timing, might have been a preview of the new Klingon flagship.
I don't know exactly what this is, but it looks like he mentioned that it had something to do with a bug that came out at one time when the Klingon, when they introduced the wing animations.
Yeah. It's like a combo of two different states or something.
It looks like a bird of prey and an X-wing from Star Wars had a baby.
I like that. It might be kind of a cool ship, actually. So I guess we won't really know anything much more about that. Maybe it might show up on a future engineering report or something, but we'll keep an eye out, and we'll give you guys an update. And as soon as we see any screens, we'll show them to you.
You know, in other ship news, we have a new shot, kind of a compilation shot of the Enterprise F. If you want to get your pretty on.
I'm feeling good about the Enterprise F.
Captain Logan has been putting some serious work into this, too, and not just on the ship itself, but he said one of these recent shots, he went through and tweaked space to make the ship look better.
Wow. Wow. That is really something. You know, I was looking back at this ship, and one of the things that I always thought back when reading this book, there's a Star Trek art book, and one of the things that really struck me was they say they always tried to light the ship itself, like the ship was self-lit. And I think that always gives it such a real perspective. And there's a few shots that we have of the Enterprise F that really kind of, when you see it in that lighting, it really seems like it's an actual Enterprise, and it's just so exciting to see the process come together.
This particular shot we're showing right now also shows Mars in the background, which I just love because that implies it's at Utopia Planitia. So, yeah. Now, anything else we want to cover, or do you want to jump into the Stahl stuff? Well, this is kind of a tease getting into the Stahl stuff because we have some information about the Rhode Island class, which is a Nova variant coming soon. And a lot of this information came from Stahl first, but actually Al stopped by our chat room today to clarify some of the information on this.
Thank you, sir.
The Rhode Island will be either a Tier 2 or Tier 3. I'm not sure on the confirmation of that, of science vessel, a Nova variant.
So kind of like an option to replace the Olympic.
Possibly, if it's Tier 3, yes.
Yeah.
And that's what Stahl was saying, Tier
right?
3.
Yep.
Al was saying Tier 2. So I'm not sure exactly what it is. We'll try to get more of a confirmation.
I'm going to go with Al, Tier 2.
Yeah, he does kind of work there.
Yeah. So if Cryptic Gecko says Tier 2, I'm going with the Tier 2. So it's not a replacement for the Olympic then.
No, and it's also, this is what you were saying earlier, a new low-level ship. So questionable there, but it's going to have a special ability which will be tied to a console. The console will be available on any science ship. Wait till you get a load of what this thing is going to be actually doing.
So this is another one of these movable consoles.
Yeah. And if you obtain this Rhode Island class, you can take that console and put it on any other science vessel.
All right, what's it going to let me do?
It's called the photonic displacement, I think is what they were calling it. And it allows you to instantly summon a decoy and cloak at the same time.
Awesome.
And in addition to that, it also transfers anybody targeting you. They automatically begin targeting your decoy at the same moment that you fire off the ability. who knows how good the cloak is, but the fact that it automatically changes your target, summons a decoy, all that stuff.
I love it.
That's going to be so much fun in PvP.
So appropriate for a low-level ship like that.
Yeah. Get me the heck out of here.
Yeah, I gotta go. Yeah, so that's really neat.
But latching this thing on to something like an Intrepid or something like that at the high end could add some interesting gameplay elements to PvP matches in particular.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, J-Man, now let's say, boy, we haven't done this. Prepare yourself. Brace yourself. Buckle up.
Daniel Stahl Says Stuff Update.
Oh, boy, that feels good. We haven't been here for a while.
I know.
But unfortunately,
he kind of made the rounds.
He didn't say it on our show. Dirty look.
No,
raised eyebrow. You see that?
Showed up over on Trek Radio, and it's a decent interview, but I went ahead and picked out some of the gems for you guys here. First of all, he did confirm, now we've had rumor of this from Al on our show in the past, that they would like to split space and ground skills into their own separate skill trees. Well, in this interview, Stahl finally just confirmed it's going to happen.
Hold on, J-Man, belly clap. I love that. Yeah,
this is definitely something they're going to be doing.
Now, Al did say months ago on STOked that they would like to do this, but now he's saying in the chat room this is going to happen. We don't know when, but I am so absolutely for this.
Mm-hmm. This is going to take a lot of work. I mean, you basically have to do a rebalance pass on the entire game to make this actually come out well. So don't look forward to this happening anytime in the immediate future. But
it's interesting to think about, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of curious to see where it can go.
Right.
Maybe we should talk to you guys at Cryptic and then come up with some sort of interesting community feedback idea around it.
Right.
That could be kind of fun.
Could be, absolutely.
Anything else?
Well, he did acknowledge the current content drought, which, everybody knows is there. It's kind of nice to just hear it from him. He actually called it a content drought, but he had some extra commentary on it as well, is that there have been some major moves going on in the higher, upper management of Cryptic to make sure that this kind of content drought never happens again, at least not to this extent that it has been going on for the past several months.
That's good. I'll tell you personally, I've been thinking that this is the scariest thing that is, and I was worried about this when we found out this was going to happen. I really think this is one of the hardest things to happen in this game in a long time.
I think so too.
I didn't quite fully appreciate the impact of it because I spent so much time enjoying all the new features of Season 4, but I did that on Tribble.
Right.
So I'd already experienced it by the time it got here. And I really am glad that this is not going to be an issue. And one of the things that's helped me kind of be at peace with it is the fact that I got to believe that I look at Season 4 with the new shooter stuff and all the tweaks as sort of the foundation to now just to deliver content on.
Yeah.
And I got to hope that now they're going to be able to continue to execute. And really, I know I keep saying this, and I know you guys are going to get sick of this, but Cryptic has to start delivering on this to compete with what's coming up.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all great to get your code working well, to get new functionality in the game, but if you don't have a playground to use your new playground equipment on, then it's kind of a moot point.
But he essentially, in that interview with Trek Radio, acknowledges that.
Yes, absolutely.
In a sense, right?
And goes as so far as to imply, he didn't come out and say this because he's not really allowed to comment on this, but that the whole switch over from Atari to Perfect World may be interfering with this whole personnel expansion that he's trying to get in place. Yeah. So they can probably do some internal personnel shifting, but they can't. They don't have any jobs on their site right now posted. Nothing like that. I don't think they can hire anybody at the moment. So trying to get the manpower in place to crank out content on a regular basis, it's got to be tough right now.
Sounds maddening.
The timing is just really unfortunate. So hopefully, when all of that gets settled, we will finally start seeing. It's sounding like that's what they're aiming for. That'd
be great.
I mean, once the merger or once the purchase goes through, once they can finally beef up their personnel and get the right people assigned to the right stuff, that we're going to finally start getting content after content after content after content. He also came out and acknowledged that weekly featured episodes are the future of STO.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
good. That's how I think that combined with the Foundry is the future. Yeah. I really do. So I'm glad. It kind of sounds like we're on the same page in the sense that I think one of the great things that you get from Dan is he's so direct with the community.
Yes.
And you really do get a sense of where his head's at for the game.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, and that's what I love about it, because as a player, I'm like, dude, I totally click with those rationales, and I feel a little better. Even if things don't come as fast as I want them, I'm digging the logic behind the situation.
Yeah.
So, all right, Jim, anything else?
One last thing is that he did confirm that we're going to be talking about this in our community feedback. But one of the things that will be coming to Starfleet Academy is a daily trivia mission.
Ooh, you know what, that does lead us right into community feedback.
Yeah.
Why don't we do it? All right, J-Man, let's jump into community feedback.
Right. Yeah, I think that's important.
And welcome to Community Feedback. Now, last week we asked you to vote on our poll, and there was a bunch of different ideas for the most practical thing that could be done at Starfleet Academy, within means.
Now, before we get into reading the actual poll results, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about some of the feedback that we received.
Yeah.
For pretty specific reasons.
Like the number one thing we got?
Yeah, like more than half of the people that responded said Starfleet Academy has to include the Kobayashi Maru. And you know what? I completely, absolutely agree. There is a reason we didn't put it on the poll. We mentioned last week we didn't want to put anything on there that would cause you to zone away from Starfleet
zoning.
Academy. And let's face it, if you go down to Starfleet Academy, you're not going to do the Kobayashi right there.
We
you're going to be sent
to do there.
Right. You're going to be sent to a mission of some sort.
Yeah.
So that takes you out of the
So
options.
we didn't put it in the poll, but why don't we cover what was in the poll and how it shaked out? So we got to say, okay, huge success. Thank you to everybody. We had nearly 1,000 people vote in the poll, which is awesome for something that was only open from last Saturday to this Saturday.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Now let's talk about, let's start with the thing that lost. I was actually a little relieved to see this because I think it'd be the hardest thing for them to implement.
Yeah, to a certain degree, but I'm surprised it got so few votes, to be honest. And it maybe says something about the general PvP environment, the general PvP community.
It could be one of those things where if you built it, they would come, J-Man.
Could be.
But
But
so we're talking about the PvP arena dodgeball type concept.
Right.
Only 7.5% people voted for this.
And this is after we got over 1,000 people voted. So
yeah, and 7.5 of them voted for PvP
7.5%.
Yeah.
Which I think was like 12 people.
I don't know how that works. I don't know. That's math, and this is not math.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's another segment for another show. And then after that, which I thought, leading into what we've heard about from Daniel Stahl just recently, I thought this was kind of interesting. The number, which one is that, Jamie? 1, 2, 3, 4? Is
the
that
fourth.
Number fourth?
Yeah, fourth place.
Is at 11%. Was Trek Trivia Quiz Game at Starfleet Academy.
Now, as I just mentioned, Stahl said that this is actually confirmed it's going to be coming. And I think one of the reasons is because it's relatively easy to implement.
Well, sure. Like, that's kind of why I thought it would be a good way to go. Because also, if done right, it could be rewarding.
It could be, yeah.
And Stahl mentioned tying in with like some sort of daily thing.
Yeah, he said that it would be a daily thing. And the way that he also... the way that he actually introduced the idea, he also started talking about how Starfleet Academy is all about officers and training. So I get the impression that the reward for this daily trivia game will eventually either be a duty officer or a bridge officer.
Cool.
And that maybe if you do really well on it, you get a higher quality officer of some type.
Interesting. Like it's a skill you can actually build up or
possibly,
something.
Yeah.
This dovetails really nicely with what ENG09 wrote in. He said, I would like to see an SFA in a weekly series like Paradise Lost where the changelings infiltrate Earth, but start with Starfleet Academy. He was saying, I want to see something happen in part of the weeklies, which would be, a fun, replayable way to go.
Right.
This, I think, is a little more of a daily kind of just relaxing kind of thing to do, whereas ENG wanted some combat. But I think in terms of what they could execute on, they're going to be able to get this in the game faster. And as far as sort of just having fun as a Star Trek fan, I think people will enjoy it once it goes in there. If we did this poll later on, I think that would rank a lot higher.
I think so as well.
It's one of those...
And like I said, it seems relatively easy to implement, so it's kind of a no-brainer that it would be one of the first things we'd be seeing.
Mm-hmm. Now, next up on the list, coming in at number 3 spot, was the firing range option. We had about 20% of the people voted for this.
And this was just a very basic option to have some training dummies
Someone
set up
to poke
somewhere
at.
where you could shoot them.
It's kind of like they do, just
more
like
people
in a
like
holodeck
this
kind of
than a trivia game.
Yeah.
This is the day and age that we live in as Starfleet, that we would rather shoot things than test our knowledge.
Wow.
That's a sad
Good
state.
commentary there, J-Man. All right, coming in at the number 2 spot, which I actually thought this would be the winner, but coming in at number 2 at 30% of the votes is Mission Replay Upgrade. Now, this was the one I was saying you would like because you'd enter the holodeck and then it would just auto-zone you right to the first spot in the mission instead of having to travel.
Yes, and we already know that players want this because we can see it in the Foundry. So many Foundry authors and so many of the top-rated missions are the ones that are easy to travel to. Players right now just don't want to spend all of their time in sector space. And
Yeah, you're right. And that's because the walls.
Yeah.
I think it's the walls. But maybe we'll see that fixed one day.
Yeah,
All
well,
right.
we know that they're trying to figure out a way to take down the walls.
Yeah.
I mean, no guarantee that they will, but they said that they're trying to figure out a way to do it.
Sokka.
Yeah.
And the walls fell, J-Man.
Yes.
Testing builds. 31% of you, number 1, 31.75% of you said, I'd like to test my builds at Starfleet Academy.
This is taking the training dummy to a whole new level. And as we mentioned, is a good comparison to like Champions Online training range where you can try out a new build and then go and shoot some things and
it
jump around.
It wouldn't be locked in until you beamed out of Starfleet Academy
Exactly.
or something like that.
Right.
So I could totally see that someday. Maybe we'll see that in a while.
And that's what clearly the majority of you guys watching this wanted.
I like that. I'm not
actually
surprised.
agree. I would love to see that functionality.
I'm not surprised at all to see that. So I think that's really cool.
Plus, do you know what a boon that would be to math? Oh my God.
Oh, I know.
You have no idea how many retrains.
You'd be in there all the time trying different stuff. It would become the new obsession of fleet mates everywhere. I could just see it now. You know people get all over that stuff.
Yeah.
Now, one last thing that I thought we would cover is the one you picked out from the comments there is diverse.
This whole concept of Starfleet Academy being dedicated to the training of officers. I love the idea of taking this even further and spinning the trivia game into some sort of even more intense mini game where you can not just answer questions about Trek trivia,
but become like a game historian kind of a thing.
Be a mentor.
To DOFs or what?
Yeah, and potentially even like do a mission that takes you down to Starfleet Academy where you have to do some sort of a presentation on some subject and be like a guest professor.
Like you're answering. Would you
You would be
asking
answering questions from this array of duty officers that are out there, and depending on how you answer those questions, and they become smarter. And then you get to recruit one, and if they're the smartest, it's a higher quality duty officer.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of a neat idea.
Yeah. Pretty complicated, but it just sounds perfect for Starfleet Academy.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a school, right?
And it also, you could do something similar with Klingon Academy where all you do is go down there and start beating people up. And
Well, I have that now.
Right.
Yeah. So Klingons are good. Should we talk about next week's question?
Yes, absolutely.
I think this kind of is a great time. Again, we don't ever have any say or impact of what actually happens in the game, but it sure is fun to brainstorm, and you never know some of the more popular things.
I think we have some say. I mean, we
think
know the
we have-
Cryptic listens to the
we have a
community,
track
and you
record.
guys are, I mean, we can be your mouthpiece.
I just like to make a disclaimer. I don't
Yeah.
want to put anybody on the hook for what we get people all worked up about. But we
true.
do have a track record of at least some of the more sane ideas make it in there. So next,
Those happen?
yeah,
Sane
sometimes.
ideas?
We've heard a lot recently in sort of the subtext everywhere and in the forums and in interviews that we know eventually we're going to see new versions of Starfleet Academy, tutorials for,
Yeah.
and probably taking place at Starfleet Academy. I would
And we
imagine.
have Starfleet Academy. The Klingon Academy is coming in the very near
Yeah.
future.
And there's a new ground system that's in there that, you kind of have to introduce people to.
Mm-hmm.
But we thought one of the things that I think everyone is first immediately very aware of when they play Star Trek Online is there's not like some official documentation that walks you through anything. In fact, a lot of times where you have to go or who you need to contact or all those types of things are essentially tribal knowledge.
Yeah.
We thought,
Like, where's Sulu?
where the heck is that guy? Let's assemble a collection of tribal knowledge. So let's do the same thing as last episode. Go over to STOked 92 over at JupiterBroadcasting.com and leave your comment in the show notes area down below. And then we'll compile a list of some of the great little tidbits of tribal knowledge out there.
I want to focus on tribal knowledge, the kind of stuff that you won't know about unless somebody's told you. But I think there are some general tips out there as well.
Oh, yeah.
Things that either get overlooked, or if you have new ways to come up with ways to introduce existing mechanics that just don't get thoroughly explained. Like a couple of folks in the chat room said that they don't think the expose exploit system is well explained in the tutorial, or your energy level system is well explained in the tutorial. So if you have solid suggestions on how to make those better in the new versions of these tutorials, I'd like to hear that as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting. By not sort of explicitly explaining those things out, it almost encourages you to just play as a sort of a generalist. in a way. So leave those in the comments on the show notes page, and then we'll work them in. And who knows, maybe Cryptic will hear a few of those and somehow bake them in some form or another into a future tutorial. You never know, Jay.
You never know.
All right, well, here's the deal. Stoked is live over at jblive.tv at 11 a.m. Pacific on Saturdays, and you can join our chat room with literally hundreds of people watching, including a few people from Cryptic who we heart. And also, I want to encourage you, if you haven't done it in a while, go over to jupiterbroadcasting.com/donate, because the reality is that if you watch an episode on Jupiter Broadcasting that doesn't have a sponsor in it, that means I personally paid for it.
Whoa.
So I could use the help, because that's not a sustainable business model.
No, it isn't.
So go over to jupiterbroadcasting.com/donate if you've enjoyed some
Despite
of our
appearances,
content.
he's not rich.
Quite the opposite. And those monthly subscriptions do help, because then they can help us budget if you can afford it. But if not, we just appreciate your subscriptions and downloads.
I'd like to make an additional real quick plug, is we do have affiliates available for places like ThinkGeek and Amazon.com.
Yeah,
and
in fact,
a
if
few
you're
other
a big
places.
Amazon purchaser, we're going to try to hook up a link system. But if you go over to Jupiter Colony in the general section, you can create a bookmarklet that every purchase at Amazon.com, a percentage of it goes to Jupiter Broadcasting.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Yes, it
Some
is.
good ways to support us, and you get yourself something too. All right, I'm all done with all of that.
All right.
Now, we will see you next week. We come out on Tuesdays over at jupiterbroadcasting.com, and you can get it in basically every format you want and subscribe and get the show weekly, or join us live on Saturdays, like we mentioned.
I think I should make one more disclaimer real quick, is in a few weeks, PAX is coming up. And we are going to be taking that week off from Stoked.
PAX Seattle.
Yes, PAX Prime.
Yeah.
PAX Prime 2011.
Yeah.
And we'll be in attendance, so there won't be a live Stoked that weekend. We're going to try to get something out for you, and we're still working on that. But just a heads up.
If you watch the show and you're going to be there, I don't know, hit us up on Twitter. I'm twitter.com/ChrisLAS.
And I'm at JB Jeremy.
And let us know, and maybe we can meet up and get a burger, get a beer, and maybe we'll just do like a quick little fun video from PAX and release as an episode.
Sure.
That's down the road. That's a little ways off, so don't worry about it now. But if you're going to be there, let us know, 'cause we'd love to see you.
Yes.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode of Stoked, and we'll see you next week.